Hi guys, so today I will be doing the books that I really want to get to reading in the year of 2015. I did something very similar to this last year on my blog and I will link that post below, just if you're curious to see what I ended up reading last year and what I anticipated on reading. This video will showcase a few of the books that I hope to read this year. I don't know if you can see, but up here this is actually my to be read shelf, and there's obviously a lot of books. Some that I got for Christmas, which of course I want to read this year, but I thought I'd show a few that weren't featured in my books I got for Christmas video because of course I want to read those as well. So the first book I want to read is Jewel. This is by Amy Ewing. I'm not quite sure how to say that. I'm not overly sure what it's about, but I do know that it features royalty and they can't have their own children, so they ask members of society, of the common public, to essentially carry their children. I'll just read the blurb on the back. It says, Violet is trapped in a living death, her name and body no longer her own. She fights to hold on to her identity and sanity, uncertain of the fate of her friends, isolated and at the mercy of the Duchess. Then she meets another captive, Ash, the handsome royal companion. Drawn together, Violet and Ash are puppets in the deadly game of court politics, each the other's jeopardy and salvation. I've put it off for the moment because I think it is a trilogy and I like to have at least two of the books sort of out that I own, so I can I'll just sweep through and read them all at once. There's nothing worse for me than reading a book and then having to wait a year for the sequel to come out because I forget plot lines so easily. I've got a really poor memory like that. I would have to reread it if, say, the next one came out in a year's time. So hopefully I will get to reading this year. The next book that I want to read is a series, and the book I'm going to show you is actually the third in the series. That will become a little clearer in a minute. The book I've got is Champion by Mary Lou, which is obviously part of the Legend trilogy, so I need to get the first and second book. The reason I've got this one is because it is a signed copy. I got mine at Books A Million. They often have a little section at the end of one of the aisles which has a few signed copies. Sometimes they'll have a lot of one book or they will just have one of each, and that is where I've got all my signed books. If you'd like to see a video on my signed books, then leave a comment below and I can get to that. So inside you can just see there is Mary Lou's signature, and what's really cool is some of the pages in this are red. I don't want to read the blurb out because obviously this is the third book in the series, but I know that it is really popular trilogy. So yeah, I don't know off the top of my head a lot about this book, but it is a dystopian novel, so I'm sure I will like this series. The next one again is part of a series, and this is Shatter Me by Tahira Mafi, I think is how you say her name. Again, I've put this off because it is a series and I've wanting to read up my more standalone books before I read this. On the back it says, I have a curse, I have a gift, I am a monster, I am more than human, my touch is lethal, my touch is power, I am their weapon, I will fight back. And then the blurb says, no one knows why Juliet's touch is fatal, but the re-establishment has plans for her, plans to use her as a weapon. But Juliet has plans of her own. After a lifetime without freedom, she's finally discovering a strength to fight back for the very first time and to find a future with the one boy that she thought she'd lost forever. So that sounds really interesting, and the cover of these books is gorgeous. So yeah, off the top of it, I don't know a lot about it except for obviously the protagonist has some sort of powers that the government isn't too happy about. The next book is the second in a series. It is part of the Kingdom Keeper series by Ridley Pearson. This is, I think, middle school, young teenager, like older child books. I've read the first one, which is here, and the first one is Disney After Dark. It's about a set of 5 children that go into the parks, I think through their dreams, and they basically go into the parks at night when everything sort of comes alive. So yeah, the first one, the main sort of villain is Maleficent. So I'm not quite sure who the main villain is in the second one, but it's set in Animal Kingdom. They each sort of feature a different park. So the first one was Magic Kingdom, the next one Animal Kingdom, and I think they even go as far as there's some books based off the cruise. I think there's about 7 books in total, so they're really just light, easy reads. And even though they are for children, I think if you like Disney and you like reading about the parks and you like anything Disney basically, they're a really interesting book to read. The next one I've had for a while now, and it is Rebels City of Indra by Kendall and Kylie Jenner. It is about 2 girls, like sci-fi dystopian world, I'm guessing. I will read a bit of the blurb to you. It says, 2 cities, 2 girls, a shared destiny. In a world of the far future, the great city of Indra has 2 faces. A beautiful paradise floating high in the sky, and a nightmare world of poverty carved in the tunnels beneath the surface of the earth. Kendall and Kylie Jenner, the younger sisters in the Jenner Kardashian dynasty, have written a gripping tale of air and earth. Lex grew up in an orphanage deep in the dark below the earth, but even as a tiny child, she instinctively rebelled against her fate. The time when she will be judged either useful to society or forced to live among the mutations in Rock Bottom, the lowest level of Indra. Even when she is chosen to become an elite cadet of the population control force, and her fellow cadet Kane truly understands her longings. Unknown to her, one girl secretly shares her defiance. Livia Cosmo, the orphan heiress, may live on a sky island surrounded by wealth and privilege, but she has no more freedom than Lex. Rigid discipline governs her every movement as she learns the art of becoming a proper young woman, the belle of the emergence ball, ready to begin cohabitation with one of Indra's finest proper young men. That is quite a mouthful of a blurb. It's about a girl who lives in the really wealthy part of Indra and someone who lives in the poor Indra, and they obviously both want more freedom than they have. Something like that. I'm not quite sure. If you've read it, leave me a comment below and tell me if you liked it or not. Next book is actually 4 books, and it is the complete series that I want to reread and finish reading, and that is the Divergent series by Veronica Roth. This is an amazing series. I've already read Divergent and Insurgent, and I loved them both. They were really quick, easy reads. In fact, I've read Divergent, I think, about 3 times now. I read it when I first bought it, when it sort of came out. Then I read it again when I bought Insurgent because I wanted to refresh my memory. And then I read it again when Divergent came out of the theatres. So, basically, I have bought in the summer Allegiant and 4. So Allegiant is the final one in the trilogy, and 4 is sort of the companion novel. It's the story of Divergent told by 4's perspective, and it's got bonus scenes and things like that. I don't think I'm going to be reading this until Insurgent comes out. I'll reread Insurgent nearer the time when the film comes out, and then I will go straight into Allegiant and 4. I know that the reviews on Allegiant are really strong. Some people loved it, some people hated it, so I have no idea what to expect from this final one. It's just going to be quite mind-blowing, I think. So if you've read any of these books, leave me a comment below if you like them. No spoilers, please. So yeah, if you've got any book recommendations for me, leave me a comment below or tell me what you're reading at the moment, and we can share this book fandom together. So I will post any of my social media links below, as well as my blog post with my 2014 What I Want to Read books, as well as the blog post I'm going to be writing that will show my 2015 books. So it'll all be over there if you want to see it. And yeah, I will talk to you soon. Bye guys!